Welcome to the kickoff of the 2025 Dizzy Quilts and Sews Quilt-Along. The Quilt-Along is going to get started in February, so I thought I would jump on real quick and just basically announce it, let you or tell you a little bit about what we're going to be doing this year, some of the supplies you'll need so that when the first block video is released in February, you are ready to go. This year we're doing something a little bit different. So in our last Quilt-Along, we were doing 9 traditional blocks with precise piecing or precise-ish piecing. So I basically taught you very traditional methods of quilting. This year, we are going the opposite way, and we are doing some improv piecing and quilting, which is going to be a low-pressure, fun, super creative way of putting together our quilt. What won't change is that, again, this year, we're going to do 9 different blocks, except that there are no rules for these blocks. You don't have to be precise. You don't have to stress over points meeting or your 1/4 inch seam allowance. You can let loose and let your creativity just go crazy. So yeah, 9 blocks, and then we are going to put them together into a quilt top and basically sandwich it and quilt it the traditional way. So basically just quilt it once the whole top is done, and then we're going to bind it. So between February and October, you're going to learn 9 different blocks, 9 different improv techniques, and at the end of it, we're going to put our quilt top together, sandwich it, quilt it, bind it, and then by December, you'll have a super fun baby quilt that you will have made all by yourself. So I can't really tell you exactly how much fabric you're going to get because each block is going to be different for each person who quilts along with us, basically. My block is not going to look the same as your block, so the fabric requirements are going to be different. The one thing I can tell you is to pick a bunch of different fabrics, scraps, fat quarters, yardage if you have it, in colors and prints that go well together, that you would like to see together in a quilt. What I'm going to do is, I've had these 10-inch squares of black fabric in my stash forever. Well, these 10-inch squares are going to be the basis for my blocks. So I'm going to use black in my quilt, and then I'm going to use, oh my goodness, scraps from another quilt I'm making this year, and all of these gorgeous colors are going to go into it, but I know I'm going to have some scraps to play with once I'm done cutting all the fabrics for that quilt. So this is everything I'm going to use. I've got a bunch of fat quarters. I've got a bunch of scraps that I might throw in here and there just to change things up or add a little more color here, add a little print there, because a lot of those fabrics are actually solids. So yeah, so go through your stash, grab all of your colorful scraps, get a little variety in terms of pieces. You might want some long strips, you might want some fat quarters or fat eighths, so dig in there and get all of your scraps. You'll also need some batting. I would say about 40 to 45 inch square of batting, and you will need a piece of fabric for the back of your quilt. I would say about a 1.25 yards would be a good, a good measurement or a good size for your backing fabric. And then you're going to need some binding fabric. Again, you can use your scraps for that, But if you're going to use the same fabric for your entire binding, you're going to need about 1/3 of a yard. Yeah, I'd say 1/3 of a yard will be more than enough. In terms of tools, we don't need a whole lot because this is improv quilting. So you're going to need a rotary cutter. You're going to need a pair of fabric scissors. You're going to need a small square ruler and a long quilter's ruler. Mine is 6 inches by 24 inches, but if you have anything around that size, it'll work just fine. Obviously, you're going to need your sewing machine. You don't need a fancy 1/4 inch foot for this Quilt-Along. Just a regular foot will do the thing. Depending on how you're going to quilt your quilt, you can use a walking foot or a free motion foot. So think about that, but that won't be until the fall. So you've got lots of time. You're going to need an iron, and that is pretty much it. So gather all of your supplies, and hopefully while I was speaking, I've put up some pictures of past quilts that I've made using some of the techniques that we are going to learn this year, just to give you a taste of what we're going to be going with, because I haven't put the entire quilt together yet. Because of improv quilting, like, I know it's going to work. I don't need to design anything. We'll design as we go. So gather all of your supplies and meet me back here in probably early February, and we are going to put together our first block. So look at this as a bit of a mystery Quilt-Along, because you're not going to see the blocks before we make them. We're going to create them together. All right, I hope I see you in February. Meanwhile, if you have any questions, please put them in the comments below. As always, I reply to comments usually within 24 hours, so I will get back to you as soon as I can. If you're curious about what we did last year during our Quilt-Along, I'm going to link to our playlist right here, and you can go have a look. Thanks for watching, and I will see you soon.